Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. DJ here, hands-on SAP Dev with QMacro, that's me. Welcome. It's a cold, windy morning here in Manchester. It's just getting light. I guess it's pretty horrible. The rest of Europe and so on. How is it? How is it over in Australia? I saw that Andrew Bernard, you said that. Got some real bad sandstorms or dust storms in Melbourne. Hope everything is okay over there. Good morning. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Helmut. Good day. That was a good accent, wasn't it? Good day, Andrew. And Robert. Hello to Robert in the Netherlands. This is excellent. So, welcome. I just tweeted a picture. I thought I'll just show you a bit of a behind the scenes thing. Obviously, you can see literally behind the scenes behind me right now, which is the sort of a desk, another desk over there that I put together with my Raspberry Pi cluster and my laptops running various bits and pieces. I've also got a server, an old server running Kubernetes on Minikube, but it's quite loud. The fan's quite loud, so I've put it in the loft up there, so you can maybe see the power cable and an Ethernet cable, not very tidy, going up through the loft hole, the loft access hole, and it's in there. It's quite dusty, but anyway, let's see what happens. Servus Gregor, Morgan, Volker. Yes, all welcome. It's great to be back. I'm going to move this this tweet deck away because it's quite distracting. Let's close that. There we go. So I hope you're all okay. I'll explain what I'm going to do shortly. Let me just move to the main scene, which hopefully should be showing a picture of my setup here. So I've got my Blue Yeti microphone. In fact, I'm pointing to it, but I might as well point to it on there because you can see that now. And I've got my 4K monitor, and it's always been a bit of a weird thing since I had two monitors before when I started live streaming, and I had the whole of one monitor I was streaming, I was capturing and sharing, and then the other monitor I had sort of the YouTube or the Twitter, Twitch studio and the OBS studio and so on. But now I've only got a single monitor. I've got to sort of work out how I want to do it, and I've got a tiling window manager, so I've got the windows tiled, as you can see, into four equally sized tiles. And what I do is I share the whole screen, but crop to the top left quarter. And I set my screen resolution to 2 times 720p, so that's 2560 by 1440, so that hopefully there's no sort of scaling or fewer scaling artifacts, because what I'm putting out via Lightstream is 720p at the moment. Hopefully Lightstream will support 1080p at a certain point in time, but not yet. So I hope this is okay. Anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd show you a picture of that. I've got my what's it called? Google Home Hub there, showing random pictures, which is nice. There's me and Joseph in Dusseldorf. And there we go. I've changed keyboards. I'm using an earlier keyboard that I had, which is the Vortex Race 3 with the MX Blue switches. So the keyboard is going to be a bit louder than normal. I've moved my camera over there as well. I've got, it's all, you won't believe it, it's like blue tack and sellotape sort of stuck on the corner of the monitor, so I can sort of look up and be a little bit more jaunty. So there we go. Yes, in fact, that's a great point. Well said, Pierre, and welcome and good morning, by the way. Bonne journée or bon matin, as I say. Yes, I'm feeling very French after last week's visit to Lyon. It was great. So yes, Christian Drum has just submitted a session for recap, and in fact, that's the first thing I wanted to remind people about. So there is the. In fact, I'll copy paste the URL. There's the homepage for the conference on the SAP Cloud Application Programming Model, sort of an unconference style thing. I mentioned it in a previous episode, but here's the website now, lovingly put together by Volker and other folks as well. So thank you for that. It's awesome. And there's a Twitter ID as well, recap conf. And as you can see, there's a call for papers. So go over to the wiki there. The link is in there. A spelling correction is needed or ABBA intended. Where is the ABBA? ABA. Where are you talking about, Gregor? Or is it something on my screen, or is it somewhere else? Let me know. Anyway, the website's up. The call for papers is out. So go there and submit a session. It's in Heidelberg, a beautiful city. So there we go. So that's that. We have also. I also want to share some things here shortly, but I want to share those in the context of what we're going to do. I want to dive straight in, unless there are any other questions. I've got my coffee here. By the way, the SAP Coffee Corner podcast radio had a recent episode where Mr. Tom Young was interviewed. He's our new leader, fearless leader in the developer advocates team. Very happy to have Tom. And Tom is currently over in Palo Alto at SAP at the Silicon Valley DCOM, Developers Kickoff Meeting, which is like an internal sort of technical conference for SAP. Let me know if I think the camera is sort of creeping slowly upwards. If the camera goes a bit weird, let me know and I'll sort of re-sellotape it. Hey, good morning, Freddie. Good morning, Freddie. Welcome. Nice to see you again. The wiki drove you nuts. Oh, I see that there's a typo in the Christian submission. Sorry, Gregor. Right, thank you. Yes, so Freddie, I've got that computer that you were using. It's now up in the roof, running some Linux stuff for me as well. There we go. Anyway, so where were we? We were, this is what we're going to do today. This is Brexit Eve, by the way, the most depressing day of the year already. We're about to leave Europe. So what I want to do today is to continue with the Business Rules API. I know what I feel a little bit weird because the camera's not in the middle, because I'm normally used to speaking back to there, but the camera's over here, so I'll speak over here. So yeah, we played around on a few episodes with the Business Rules service. We had where did we start? Yeah, we set up the Business Rules on Cloud Foundry, and we kicked the tires a bit, as it says here. And we transitioned from Neo to Cloud Foundry using the same very simple project, which was to do with airline discounts. It's actually the same project I used for a talk I gave at the UI5 conference a while ago. The point is that it's not about the business rules themselves and how they work. It's how to access them, and also how to access them from a runtime perspective and a design time perspective. So we set that up, and we had Tom on, of course. That was quite prescient, wasn't it? And of course, Marius came on again to show us the business application. And then we got back to digging in a little bit more. We got the managed project admin, which I'm now going to call the business rules editor, because why not? We got that set up, and we started to have a look at calling the business rules API. We didn't get as far as calling the runtime API, if I remember right. We call the design time API. So what we're going to do is call the runtime API. First of all, I think using bash in the terminal, just to sort of remind ourselves of where we were. But then I want to write some JavaScript with you and use a particular npm repo. Npm repo, that's not the right word. Npm package, project, module, library, whatever word you want to use, to do that. So there we go. So let's remind ourselves of, if I go to the API Business Hub, I wish it would remember me. I always have to log on. It's quite annoying. So let's go down there. Let's go to the bottom. Where's my... that's also weird. It doesn't scroll all the way down. Yeah, a number of issues here. But anyway, business rules. There we go. Come on, SAP Cloud Platform business rules. Okay, so these are the business rules. let's remind ourselves there are 6 APIs altogether. Let me just move that out of the way for a second, just a little bit more space, and maybe I'll make it smaller, 100%. I think that should be okay. Hey, Ronnie, good morning. Good morning. Also, I think I made a mistake here because the live chat is right over there in that corner, and the camera is right over there in that top, so it's like the opposite end. So it's like, But anyway, I'll adjust that next time. I'll sellotape the camera to that side next time. Hey, Phil. Good morning. Good evening to you. Nice for you to join. So anyway, DJ, stop talking and start doing. Rule authoring and rule execution for Neo and Cloud Foundry. Authoring and execution, sometimes those phrases he uses, sometimes repository and runtime is used, sometimes design time and runtime is used. Not particularly consistent, but we know what we're talking about here. So we access the repository API, as in looking at the actual project details themselves before. And that was with the rule authoring API. I just want to show you what the thing was that to do with projects. We used the V1 projects API endpoint to do that. But remember as well that the Cloud Foundry APIs are protected via OAuth, not with basic authentication. So there's a little bit more jiggery pokery required. So just to get back in, because we've got a bit of time, it's only 10 past 8 in the morning here. To get back into the swing of things, let's just spend 5 minutes going to this folder here that I've created. I've got all sorts of things in here, and we'll be going through some of this. I wrote a couple of blog posts as well this week to do with scripting and Cloud Foundry and services and so on. And some of that stuff is in here. And when I write the annotations to this particular episode, they'll go in here. So this stuff will also get pushed to my repo, so you can have a look at that. But basically, the things I was talking about were things like this: watch, status, app. That's that thing there. So I'm just monitoring, the app. In fact, if I go to the Cloud Foundry here, where's my cockpit? Let me just go into here, enter your trial account. In here, seems nice and fast, he says, as we say, the throbber. Nice and fast this morning. It did anyway this morning. So we got the application here, the business rules editor app router, and then the service instances. We can see there are 3 service instances. So that is what we're seeing there. There's the application, and let's have another one here. Watch status services or service, and there are the 3 services that we just saw. Okay, so that's that thing. You can read all about them in the blog post that I wrote this week. And so we've got those services there. They're all running. We don't need that anymore. Let's get rid of that. And what we did was we played around with this little script here, because we know that, in fact, let's bring that back up again. We know that if we look at the business rules service, we can see the service key information, which tells us the repository URL for calling stuff is BPM rule repository, CF Axios 10, and the runtime is BPM rule runtime. This is where we have to authenticate ourselves to get a token. There's our client ID, as in the ID of the client that we're going to use to make the API calls, and there's a secret down here. So all that stuff is in there. So that's that. And if you have a look at the script here, what we did was we sent exactly that information. I mentioned in a previous episode that there's a blog post from Archana Shukla that sort of describes this briefly, but there's also another blog post by Carlos Rogan I'll point to shortly. But if we basically send an HTTP request to this authentication endpoint, now previously it was i347.491 trial.authentication, but I've blasted away my Cloud Foundry subaccount and recreated it, give it a different name. That's why it's called now QMacro subdomain. That's the authentication endpoint. And of course, we also have to append this OAuth token path at the end. Now, let me show you, there's a really nice blog post by Carlos. Where is it? Version management, backend service. There we go. Yes. Backend service about OAuth mechanisms. And there are different types of OAuth mechanisms. And Carlos sort of describes lots of different, all the different ones here. And they're also described in the NPM module that I'm about to use as well. But the one that we are using right now, the one we used last time as well, is called, where is it? The different authorization grant types. There's basically it's the client grant type. In fact, if I go to client OAuth 2, which is the module we're going to use, where's the thing? So there's authorization code grant, which we're not using yet. We might use that another time. That's a slightly more involved, and it's sort of useful for a different style of client call. What we're using, and what we used already, was this so-called resource owner password credentials grant, which is basically where in the whole relationship, the client, as in my script in this case, the client is trusted, so you can give it the user ID and password with which to authenticate to go and ask for the token. Okay, send that information. So that's that. And so that's why we're sending the user ID and password here in the payload to say, give me a token. Okay, we've done this already. I'm using a password manager on Unix or Linux called Pass, which is super awesome. And it will just give me my password for this trial sub account. So I'm not going to show you that, obviously. That's why I want to do it that way. And the username is djadams@sap.com. That's the username for authenticating. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking now and basically run this. Okay, and what we get token is a token. Let me just scroll up just to show you there. There we go. So we get this token here, and I stick the word export in front of it. As you can see there, let's just do that again. All I'm doing there is sort of using JQ to extract the access token. If I were to actually, let me just do that. Let's comment that out for a second. And if I were just to do that, JQ like that, you'd see we get all sorts of information about the token, including, what's happened there? JQ. Oh, I need to pipe it into JQ, don't I? Pipe into JQ. We get all sorts of information about the token, including when it expires and so on, right? This is a bye, Freddie. Have a good day at school. Bye. I'm just pointing over there. Bye. So it expires, and interestingly enough, this number. Who can figure out what that number is? 43199. It took me a while to figure out. Well, short while. But what is the significance of 43199? That's the first question of the day for you folks on the chat. I'll give you a clue. Just add 1 to it and then work it out. So we've got the token. So in fact, let me just edit that back again, remove that, and then I can say eval running of that, get token. And now we've got this token in a token environmental variable, and then we can say get project info. This is what we did last time. We use that token that we've now got that's valid for a certain amount of time. That's valid for 43,199 seconds or less now. And we can use that as a bearer token to actually make the call to the V1 projects endpoint to say get projects info, get projects info. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's fine. We can also, I've got this thing here, which is the payload that we want to send if we want to make a call to the runtime API. If I bring the documentation or the actual API artifact back, 12 hours, Andrew, yes, you got it in one. See, it's not milliseconds, Phil. Although obviously seconds things counted in thousands, which to do with time is often milliseconds, like in a set timeout in JavaScript, for example. But this is 12 hours. 12 hours minus 1 second. Christian, also very correct. Well, what's 11 hours 55 minutes between friends, Phil? If we have a look at the rule execution API for Cloud Foundry, and this is the V2 execution API. If we have a look at the invoke rule service, we'll see there's two here: post V2 rule services and V2 working set rule services. The reason I've also got this other URL. Oh, let me post the URL to. Did I post it already? Where is it? Carlos's thing there. There it is. There's Carlos's post on the different OAuth mechanisms. And then there's Archana's post on version management. You will see that when we set up the business rules rule, the discount, the flight discount thing, I didn't sort of make a particular version of it, so it's still in working set. Okay, so it's a working set rule rather than a properly published rule. I'm not going to go into that because we can maybe do that another time. That would take too much time. There we go. Working set, currently author rule. So that allows us to call the rule as a working set rule without having to give a version. Okay, so there's that. That's that. So we want to call the working set rule service, and in order to do that, in fact, there's my environment still there. That should still be okay. If I want to try this out, I'm just going to go down here and cap the payload so I can paste it in, just down there, out of sight. There we go. Anyway, so that's what we want to do. Okay, we want to use this payload here. We're saying the rule service. In fact, if I go to let's go back to the cockpit for a second. There's so much to show. It's so much. I definitely want to stop. Definitely want to start writing some JavaScript at 8:30, half past, because I don't want to sort of miss out on that goodness. But just want to explain again, where things are, because I know it's just awful to try and watch somebody like, oh, where are we starting from? Maybe I have too much coffee. I feel as though I have too much coffee. How is that camera, by the way? Is it sort of fine? There we go. Right. Okay. So if we have a look, let's go into the actual business rules editor. There we go. Let's log on. Oh, so annoying. Let's just open that in an incognito window for a second. Bring that over here. Yeah, I don't know what is wrong with that, but anyway, let's deal with that another time. So there's our airline discounts rule project, and we've got to look at the rule service. We have a look at that. We can see in the URL, the rule service has an ID 8EBB, etc. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. So we don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. So there's the rule service 8EBB, etc., etc., etc. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And then if we execute that, we're sending what? BA, British Airways, and I think I put a discount of 10, right? We're looking for the answer of 10. There we go. So there's the discount. Oh, hold on. Did it work? Oh, it's still running. Still running. There we go. That was weird that the discount. There we go. There. Okay. So the discount is 10. So that's what we want to get from the command line now, from our script. There's the result. So anybody who's used the discount rule, who's used the business rule service in the past, whether on Neo or Cloud Foundry, the version 1, the way you called the runtime APIs was different, looked different. This is version 2 of the runtime API. And I think it's a little bit cleaner, okay? You can pass a nice sort of payload with the JSON, with the different structures, it just looks neater. I'm talking about this, of course, this thing here, the vocabulary with the structure and the attributes in the structure, and then the value for the attribute, in this case, BA. Okay, so let's do that from here. In the next couple of minutes. So let's what have we got here? Have we got anything there? No, we got a payload. So that payload is that thing there, and we've got the get project info. We've still got a token, so I think that token should still be valid. So let's copy get project info to call API, call rule.bash. Okay, so BPM rule runtime. Remember, we got that URL from the binding or the service binding information. Sorry, the service key information from the service itself. And of course, the sort of the stub or the core endpoint is rule service REST, if you look at the documentation. But this thing is v2 working set rule serve. Is it services? Working set rule services. Okay, so rule is singular, working set is singular, and services is plural. Okay, so that should be that. But what we have to pass in is the payload. So in fact, -d at payload.json. I think header, I'm just making this up, content type application JSON, because I think by default curl will send that form URL encoded. I think that's all we need. Is that the right thing for curl? I can't remember. Curl help. Let's go up there. Where is it? Oh, there we go. D. Yeah, minus D or minus data. And if you've got an at, you can specify a file name. Okay, so let's go back here. I think that's all we need. Let's just try. So we still got the token. We don't need to send user ID and password in basic authentication. So let's just try it. Call rule. Woo! Sorry, that was a bit loud. That worked even more successfully than I thought it would do. Yeah, okay, so we got the discount 10. So if we say, for example, let's edit the payload, and I've got Lufthansa in there as well, LH, and Lufthansa is a different discount, 15, there we go. So it's working. Okay, so that effectively is what we want to do, put in a more real life situation. You know, I think the terminal is awesome, as you know, and I even to that extent, I put like a little terminal emoji in my PS1 prompt. But of course, we want to sort of move towards a more realistic scenario. Shell scripting is great for discovery, and it's great for sort of messing around and having a look and exploring and so on. But let's do something in JavaScript. By the way, you're all very quiet on the chat. I hope you're okay. Let me know, say hello, and tell me if you've had a play with this already, whether you think this is okay. So what we'll do is we'll attempt to do this same thing using JavaScript. So why don't we start by, sorry, I'm a bit distracted because I can see the sellotape in front of that little command prompt there over my screen. I guess I'm still live. Yes, I think I'm still live. Yes, let's create a new project. So let's make the call. Let's call it call rule. Go into call rule there, and because we're going to be using some Node.js modules, we'll initialize the project. Oh, thank you very much. Too much console for you. What, Mark? I hope you're kidding. You're still alive. Okay, thank you very much. Carlos has the best profile. Yes, Carlos's profile picture is awesome. Very awesome. So npm init. Okay. Oh, you're tired? You're tired, Helmut. Oh, well, that's not good. Get some coffee. Or maybe have a nap. When I'm tired, I try to have naps these days because it's really good for the brain. Wondering why you still use Bash instead of Z Shell, but that's a different topic. It is a different topic. Yes, I would if I move to Z Shell or Z Shell, Z Shell, I do want to move properly. But I'm quite happy with Bash, and I'm using so many different machines and different virtual machines and containers whose default shell is still Bash that, you know, that's sort of stopping me moving. I'm not like many people who have, you know, really tuned their environment nicely and got it all set up perfectly. I set up and destroy environments all the time. So that's one of the reasons why I'm still with Bash, and I like Bash. So, but Z Shell is also awesome, right? Anyway. I'm not missing anything that I see in Z shell that I don't have in bash that I want. Anyway, okay, so here's our call rule project. And what I want to do is use this thing here, which is the client OAuth 2.0 package. It allows us to make or to request tokens, okay, to basically go through the authentication flow, the OAuth 2 authentication flow, to get a token, which we can then use. Let me just put the link of that, which we can then use with a request package project. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Pierre, interesting you say that then. Yeah. So Z shell is awesome, right? But you know, bash is everywhere. Maybe Z shell will be everywhere eventually, but you know, who knows? As you know, I'm using Chrome OS, and I use the Crostini, which is a Linux via a VM, and of course, each of the Linux environments I have are containers. I can't believe the phone call. I told him to call me, but that's okay. Called me at the wrong time. Anyway, so where was I? Yes. So all these containers have bash by default. So we want to use the request or the promise request, a promisified request to make the actual request to the API endpoint. Okay, so we're going to use a request promise, and we're also going to use where was it? The client OAuth 2. So why don't we start by, I keep going the wrong way with my keyboard shortcuts. Let's start by, in fact, let's first of all, npm install as development dependency nodemon. We all like nodemon, right? So let's also have another window here, make that a bit smaller. npx, let's go into there, call rule npx nodemon. npx nodemon. There we go. We can't find module blah 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 blah. That's fine. Index.js. Okay, so console log hello. Okay, fine. So we're sort of, not test-driven development, but sort of, nodemon-driven development. That'll do for now. Neo business rules, blah blah. Right, brilliant. Okay, bearer token. Yes, this is what we want to do. That's good news, Phil. That's good news. So why don't we start by using the client OAuth. What we're going to do is use the client OAuth 2 package to request a token, the equivalent of what we did in the get token thing. So first of all, we'll have client. We'll just call it client equals require OAuth. What's it called again? Client OAuth 2. I'm sort of writing this on the fly. I've had a quick look before, but we'll see what happens. And we also need the request equals require. Is it called request promise or promise request? Bloody hell, I can't remember. Request promise. You get to that stage where you've had too much coffee and your brain goes to mush. Request promise. Okay, so that's that. If I save that, of course, we haven't got the module. So let's just go and install those now. So npm install client, what's it called again? Request promise. And I know already that we also have to install request. Request promise is a wrapper around the original request module, and the request module doesn't get installed by default as a dependency anymore, so you've got to recall that as well. And we want also, what's it called again? Client OAuth 2. Client OAuth 2. Let's install those, and then we should be good to go. Times 834. Oh, good. Doing well. I'm sort of panicking slightly that we're not going to have enough time, but there we go. Well, it's all good. Oh, right. Okay, so it's restarted as well, and it's fine now because, of course, the packages are installed. Now, I don't know about you, but I like the style of declaring everything as constant. Everything is immutable. And also, I've sort of had this in my brain. Okay, well, you got some requires, some sort of basic requires. Then I'm going to create something on the back of these requirements. And because, because it's sort of like, it has a dependency on the previous parts of the const statement, I sort of put a white space in there. So we'll create, in fact, let's call this client, OAuth2 client. What's the two hard things in computer science? Cache invalidation, off by one errors, and naming things. I just never know what to call things. So I'm going to call this client equals, and the way you do it, I'm not going to go through the documentation in front of you. The way you do it is you say new, where is it down here? Oh, that's right, yeah, new client OAuth2 client, and then you pass it some stuff. Okay, first of all, and the stuff that we pass it is going to be very similar to what we're doing here. Get token. No, it's not there, is it? Let's go. What we're doing? VI index. Edit get token. There we go. It's going to be very similar to this. Okay, that's what we want to do. Let's just make that a bit smaller. So we want to send, and I'm looking at the documentation just down here on the off screen on that sort of lower left-hand quarter. You've seen that. The request. Yes, exactly. It has. I saw that as well, Volker. Only last night. So I thought I'll carry on with this, but the theory is the same. Okay, we start using a different HTTP library. But thank you for pointing out. That's good. MG, hello, welcome. Welcome to Hands-on ICP Dev. Welcome. Thanks for joining. So we need to pass basically three things. The same three things as we're passing down there. We need to pass don't forget, this is not making the request. This is actually preparing to make the request. So we need to pass the what's it called, the client ID, and that's going to be the same as the where is it? Oh yes, that's going to be the same as what's in the netrc. I'll put that there for now. Client secret, and also we also need the or access token URI. Okay, so that what I'm looking at, by the way, is this thing here, the sort of the usage. Okay, so we need the client ID, the client secrets, the access token. We don't need the authorization token because that's for this other flow that we're not doing. This is where the client redirects the user to the server, the resource owner. The resource owner is the thing that asks the user for their user ID and password so that the client never gets it, and then the resource owner sends back a temporary, immediately expiring token with which the client can then use, which you can use to get the OAuth token. Anyway, see, that's how complicated it is. So we're not going to do that. This one, we're going to use the same one we did in the script. Anyway, and relax. So we need the client ID, the client secret, and the access token URI, which we all know is this thing down there. So let's put that in now. Okay, access token URI is it's that one, isn't it? HTTP. There we go. There's the access token URI. Now, if we have a look at this, remember we're using netrc, which is this technique to use this special sort of standard that can store credentials for different remote machines. Rather than type everything in, but effectively, this is, in fact, if I look at that, and these are the ID. This is the ID and secret that we saw in the service key. So this is basically this SB clone, blah blah blah, and the password. So let's have those. Let's put those there for a second. Let's have those now, and let's just put them in directly, okay? And then we'll maybe improve this. I found a really nice module in Node called npm netrc, which reads that. But so we know what we're doing, so we can see what we're doing, we'll do it sort of openly here, so we can all understand what's going on. Let's put that there. There we go. Okay, fine. Haven't found lots of chat here. This is good. Any suggestions of successor? Been using yes, I've been using Axios as well. I've used Axios quite a few times. I think I might even mention that on the when talking about what I was going to do here. But I decided to use request promise instead for what I can't remember why. Yeah, because it was end of life, not. I've used Axios for doing similar sorts of things with the workflow API, calling that stuff from a Google Cloud function a long time ago, actually. It worked really well. Okay. 1 second. Somebody's just come to the door. 1 sec. Hey, Lee, I'm just in a call right now. I'm just broadcasting, so come back after 10. Oh, yeah. All right, cheers. That was exciting. Somebody's come round to have a look at doing something in the building, something in the garden, actually. Anyway, haven't opened a library yet. The office inspection capture. Right. Okay. Yes. So that's what we want here. We want to build up this sort of authorization client. So that's so far so good. Okay. Once we've done that, we want to be able to, make a request to get the token. Okay, so let's do that as well. What I'd like to do though is wrap all this in sort of an async wrapper, so that we can sort of do things, in a more synchronous fashion. So we'll just say here async. Sort of this reminds me of function main. Let's call it main. I almost call it like main like that. Who knows why I almost call it main like that? Any Python programmers out there? Async function main, and then we'll call main at the end. Okay, this allows us then to use await to sort of avoid what I think is a little bit of noise when it comes to using promises. And I think async await is, for me, a nicer way to use the reality of promises. So yeah, this reminds me of Python because, of course, in Python, I think Christian, you're on the stream and you write Python as well. It's sort of you define your main module, and then if name equals main, then do some stuff, right? So let's just say console.log hello. Just make sure everything is working. Yes, it's working. Okay, fine. So all the things are fitting together. So now what we'll do is we'll say const, and again, I've got my little, I like the way I like to sort of put on a separate line because lots of const token equals await. And now we use the client dot, and then the thing is down here. What's it called? I think it's get token. Is it get token? There we go. We're using this sort of, is that the one? Here we go. Yeah, resource owner, password, credentials, grant. I love this. I tweeted this yesterday, actually. Really, really subtle little joke here. Hunter2. Anybody know why the example password is Hunter2? I'll let you find out yourself. It's quite funny. Anyway, so here's the example of what we want to do. Okay, so we want to do the client library, GitHub auth, in our case, client.owner, because this is like the resource owner, but this is the library that supports this style of flow, .get token, and we send then the user ID and the password. Okay, this is exactly the same as what we were doing before in the script. Okay, down here, which is just there. So client.owner.get token, and we just pass it the username and password. So now I've modified my bash RC to run a little setup script that will inject some environmental values to environmental variables, user ID and password, so we don't see them. I'm managing my passwords the pass. Let's just put that out there with the pass. What am I doing here? What am I doing? Here we go, pass. There. So I've got my password store all encrypted, so I can get to that. It's quite good. So we now say process.end.username process.end.password. Okay, and that JSON.stringify token. Will that work? Should we try it? Yeah, why not? Oh dear. Oh, one too many. What's going on? Token. Let's just log out the token first of all. Oh, there we go. Right, that's cool. Let's go here and just expand that for a second. There we go. So basically, we got to the result of where we got to with the get token bash script. We can see that this is a client OAuth 2 token object. I'm using the word object deliberately there for those of you following that Twitter poll. Yes, Christian, if name equals main, that is burned into my memory. Thank you very much for reminding us what it looks like. Jeremy, I agree. Nice to see you last week, by the way. I agree. Oh, there's some chocolate there. I agree. It does sort of spare you some of the sort of the mess, not the mess, that's not the right word, some of the complexities that promises sort of bring. So yeah, I like that. And yeah, error handling is cumbersome, but I want to sort of, keep it short. So that's that. So now what we want to do is use the request promise to take that token, and make the call. Okay, so we got the token. There we go. We got the token there, and what do we want to do now? Request promise. Yeah, request promise. Let's have a look at request promise here. Let's go back there. Let's put that back up again. Request promise allows us to make a request, basically. I've had a look through his documentation. I'm not going to go again. I sort of know roughly what I want to be doing. So let's just do this. There is in request promise uses request, right? And the request allows us to sort of set defaults. So it allows us to say, well, for every request using the thing that we've wrapped with these defaults, use these defaults, okay? And what we want to send is, of course, the authorization header in each one. So let's start building that up, okay? So if we say here, request, let's go. We've already got request, haven't we, up there at the top? So we got the request promise. Request equals, I think it's just request.defaults. See, yeah, if I was using VS Code, I might get some sort of library help here. But anyway, I quite like using Vim anyway, and also it forces me to sort of think about things more. Request.defaults, and we specify here authorization bearer plus, is that how we're doing it? Let's see. Oh, Christian, what looks quite ugly, by the way? What looks quite ugly? Is it the code? This code we're writing? Shall we change it, or are you talking about Python? I'm not sure. Bearer. So we got the token here, and what we want is this access token. Where is it? It's the one we used before. There it is, the access token. Okay, so token.access token, and that's all we need there. And then we can say rec.request, and then we can specify what we want. So we want basically, we want to post, don't we? So we want to post, and we want to post to the runtime API endpoint, and specifically we want to post to the runtime endpoint of with the working set rules services v2 API endpoint. So, like I say, we'll do all this sort of in raw string form for now, and then next time we'll clean that up using, like I say, using netrc, but also using a really nice library called URI.js, which allows us to construct URIs more beautifully. I'll explain why next time as well. But we want to post to what's it called? Get project info. Was that the one? Oh, okay. Well, it's not, but that'll do anyway. That's what we want. It's the rule runtime, and we want v2 working set rule services, isn't it? Yes. I think that's right. Yes. Okay, so we don't need that anymore. So we're making a post request, right? And we want to send that payload, don't we? So we need the payload somewhere. And the post request, you can send. I think this is the reason, Volker. This is the reason why Helmut, TypeScript with Node.js for the win. Yes, I know you're a big TypeScript fan. I need to learn more about TypeScript. It is nice. I'm sort of getting the hang of it, and I've suddenly taken a liking to type systems and strong typing. What's happened to me? I don't know. So anyway, let's make this full screen for a second. We can say, I think this is one of the reasons why I quite like this. We can say here, where are we? JSON, and then supply and supply the payload. So let's read in the payload. There we go. This is going to be a bit of a bugger to. There we go. There. I'm going to leave the quotes in there. I mean, obviously we could take the quotes out. Yeah, let's take the quotes out, because we can really do with, sort of, that feels cleaner to me. I don't like double quotes generally, but I'm not going to change them in front of you. There we go. JSON rule service. Is that right? Well, also we're using request promise. So this is async. This is the reason why I wrap this. So async awaits. We want to do that, right? I think that's all we need, isn't it? Should we try it? Oh, okay. What's going on there? Unauthorized. What's going on here? Unauthorized. Did I not send the bearer access token? Unauthorized. BPM rule runtime CF apps. Now then, let's have a look. What am I doing wrong here? So we've got the token. Await client owner. Let's just log out that token. Console.log token.access token. We've got the access token. Authorization bearer access token. Seems okay. Let me just make sure. The username. Yes. Okay, got the username there. That's fine. So, okay, let's go back here and have a look. Oh, it's undefined. Ah, okay. Well, okay, if we haven't got a token, then that makes sense that we're not authorized. Yes, prettier. Yes, exactly. See, I'm sort of exposing, warts and all, the reality of rubbish development at Shea DJ. But anyway, okay, so the token.access token, why is that? Let's just stop there for a second. Okay, so we got the token. So did I just pick the wrong name? Token dot. Oh, look, it's not. It's in data access token, but there's also here access token. That's the thing we should be looking for. Access token. Right. Okay. So let's. Right. Okay. Why is that not? We're authorized. What's going on here? Let's just try. Oops. What am I doing wrong here? Have I saved this? Yes. Token.access token. Let's just console.log. Should be right. Wait. I'm just going to try something. I'll just do a funny. Yeah, let's just try. What I'm going to do is move this down here. No. Okay. Authorization bearer. What's going on here? There's the token. We're authorized. Yes, exactly. Jeremy, thank you for joining. It's 8:58. I'm going to end on a cliffhanger. I did have one already prepared. Is it worth doing that one? No. Let's solve this together next time. This happens to me a lot, actually. Get to right to the end, just where I have to sort of finish the live stream, and yeah. What's going on? Come on, DJ, think. Wait, request.post. Have I got the right BPM rule runtime? Let's just go back to the cockpit. That is the right thing, isn't it? Let's just double check. I'm authenticating against the right thing. There is spaces, service instance. That's the way. That is the way to end on a cliffhanger. Make people come back next time, or maybe they'll never come back again. One of the two. So we're looking for BPM rule runtime. Yep. Rule runtime.cfapps.eu10.hana.undermine. That's what I've got. Rules service. And that's the rule execution. Rules. Where is it? Rules service REST v2 working set rule services. I think I would have got a 404 if I'd have got the URL wrong there. Rule service ID. That is the nature of cliffhangers. Yes. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll solve that next time. I'm traveling next week to Oslo, SAP Code Jam in Oslo, organized by Ronnie. So that's great. But I'd like to solve this sort of, maybe I'll do a live stream on Monday and solve this. Anyway, okay, let's leave it for now. Oh, what a cliffhanger. Okay, so thanks all so much for joining. Live coding does have its advantages and disadvantages. Can't even speak now. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. And yeah, maybe I'll do a live stream on Monday to solve this. And then we can get back to where we were next Friday. Okay, bye for now.